Hello, Elizabeth here, and today I'm going to walk you through a few different methods for making handprint keepsake ornaments. My baby girl is 4 months old this Christmas, so naturally I wanted to make some keepsakes of her little handprint like you see all over the internet. I thought making a handprint ornament was going to be easy. Unfortunately, I was mistaken. Make salt dough, they said. It's so easy. You just mix together things you already have and bake it, and boom, you have this beautiful, perfect ornament. I was lied to. It's not easy at all. But after all my trial and error, I did end up with a very nice keepsake. I tried 3 different methods, and I believe I could have perfected each of them with enough trial and error between cooking times and ingredient ratios. But I'm gonna walk you through what I learned and what I think needs to happen to create the perfect little keepsake of your baby's handprint or even a pet's paw print. The first recipe I tried is a salt dough, which is definitely what I see talked about most often when it comes to making ornaments. I read that if I blended the salt into a fine powder, it would be less grainy, so I blended it in my magic bullet until it was very fine. There are different recipes online, but the most common ratio I found was 1 cup all-purpose flour, half a cup of salt, and half a cup of warm water added gradually. I followed that, but the dough was really stiff and I ended up adding more water. You're supposed to roll it out to be about 1/4 inch thick, and then you can press the handprint and use a cup or a cookie cutter to cut the shape around the handprint. Even after adding more water, it was still very challenging to work with and to roll out. I had a hard time getting a nice handprint. I really had to press down on my baby's hand, and she was not happy about it. We're having so much fun, aren't we? I didn't hurt her, but I definitely had to apply more pressure than you should need to. If you plan to hang your ornament, you can use a straw to poke a hole or 2 for some ribbon. I baked these ones at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 hours, flipping halfway through. But it still felt doughy and not fully hardened, so I put it in for another 1.5 hours, and all that happened was that it kept getting uglier and more cracked. But it still isn't even fully set on the bottom, so I think I needed to maybe start with the oven a bit hotter, because I did see some recipes that suggested 250 instead of 200 degrees, and I maybe needed it to be upside down for longer so that the bottom side would be fully set. I think the top cooks quicker because of the handprint making the surface area a bit different, so the underside needed to be facing up for longer to get a nice solid bake on it. I painted my best looking salt ornament with a metallic gold acrylic paint, and this is the final result. It's certainly a passable handprint ornament, but I don't love it. If you have any tips for successful salt dough, definitely let us know in the comments. The next thing I tried was a cornstarch dough, which you actually cook on the stovetop in a pot. For this one, I used 1 cup of baking soda with half a cup of cornstarch and 3/4 of a cup of water. Then I cooked it in a pot on the stove on medium heat, stirring constantly until it thickened into a bit of a dough with a mashed potato consistency. I removed it from the heat and let it cool for a bit before handling it. This dough was super nice, very fun to touch and play with, and way easier to roll out and get my baby's handprint into with very little pressure. This one you have the option to let air dry, and if I did this over again, I would definitely try that because after putting the handprint in and cutting it out, it looked really nice, and I think it would have been great if I hadn't ruined it by baking it. It's supposed to take about 48 hours to air dry, and you can flip it every now and then to make sure it's drying evenly and retains its shape. But you can also bake it, so I went ahead and did that for the sake of speed. I first baked it at 175 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour, flipping halfway through, but it still didn't seem fully set, so then I let it go another half hour, and unfortunately as it cooked, it became super cracked and the bottom actually burnt. I painted my best looking one with that same gold acrylic paint, and again, the final result is passable but not perfect. Definitely a nicer finish than the salt dough. If you've had success with cornstarch dough, let us know in the comments. Did you let it air dry? What did you do differently? And finally, I had some leftover oven baked clay from another project, so I wanted to give that a try. This was definitely my most successful ornament, and I'm very happy with how this one turned out. This clay is really firm when it's room temperature, so you just have to work it with your hands really well for a while before you roll it out to make it soft. I just used a drinking glass to roll it out, and then this one was very easy to get my baby's handprint into. It's hard to see on camera, but it's super detailed. You can see all the little nooks and crannies of her handprint in this one. It's also very easy to carefully fix any cracks or imperfections in the surface before baking, which I found really impossible to do with the other doughs. There are baking instructions on the package for whatever oven baked clay you're using. I used one called Sculpey, which I've linked in the description for you. It only needed to bake for 15 minutes, and it came out feeling very durable durable and fully set. The color does look a bit inconsistent after baking, especially on camera, but this particular clay is meant to be translucent and is intended for painting. And once I painted it with that gold paint, it was perfect. I'm thrilled with this one. With any of these options, especially if you're painting them, it's a good idea to seal them for added shine, protection, and durability. I used a clear gloss spray, which I've linked in the description for you as well, but you can also use Mod Podge or resin. There are lots of options. Just make sure you're being safe with whatever you're using with proper ventilation and PPE. After your seal has fully dried, you can pop a ribbon through your ornament and it's ready to hang. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment letting me know what sort of projects you'd like to see in the future. See you later!